Church of Ogden. Our faith calls us to freely explore, question, and discover our own spiritual path as we commit to living in right relations with each other and also put our collective energy into creating a world made fair and just. You are welcome here. I'm so glad to see you this morning on this gorgeous Easter morning. If you're new to our community, we hope you enjoy our worship, and please know that we are cordially inviting you to join us for our potluck brunch downstairs in our fellowship hall after the service. If you have little ones and you're new, please know that they're very welcome to join in our Easter egg hunt outside immediately after the service is over. If you've got questions about our congregation or our Unitarian Universalist faith, just ask us. We're happy to share and get to know you better. And this morning, I just want to acknowledge that Jean and Ernie Perkins are the creators of these wonderful floral arrangements that we have and that I know that you're already enjoying. And now, let our celebration of life begin. Today we come as people have come for thousands of years to worship and sing praises, to celebrate the victory of hope over despair, to be reminded of the ever-renewing life of the Spirit, and to mark the season of springtime come again. Alleluia, alleluia. Welcome to our festival of joy.
We come together every week, bound not by a creed or mutual desire to please one God or many gods, yet we are drawn together by a belief that how we are in the world, who we are together, matters. We light this chalice together in the knowledge that love, not fear, can change the world. I would now like to invite you, Nicholas, to come help light our chalice. As Nicholas lights the chalice, please join with us in lighting our chalice. The words are in your order of service. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, and for the energy of action. Thank you, Nicholas.
Well, good morning to you all. Did the Easter Bunny visit anyone this morning?
Wow.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, you know, Easter is one of those holidays with many stories associated with it. And the Easter Bunny story is just one of those stories. But this morning we're going to talk about the Christian story of Easter that has to do with Jesus. Jesus was a man who lived over 2,000 years ago, a long, long time ago, in ancient Israel. He was a teacher, he was a preacher, he was a healer, he was a storyteller, and he was a person who stood up and said, "That's not right," when people weren't being treated fairly. And as he did these things, he went around and told people his message. And his message was one that gave people hope. For he told them the way we live together is important. And so we need to love each other and treat each other well. We need to share when we have things, we need to share them with other people. And we need to welcome people that are different from us and strangers to our table to sit with us and get to know them. And when we see things aren't right in the world, we need to speak up. Those were his messages, and those messages gave people hope. And so he became kind of a popular guy. And when he arrived in the biggest city of Israel, Jerusalem, people came out from all over the city and saw him coming down the street and said, "Wow, yay, Jesus is here," because they were excited because of his message about love and hope. Now at that time, that land was ruled by the Romans, people from another country who came and took over that land. And they took the crops from people, and they weren't nice to people. And they looked at all these people in the streets being excited about Jesus, and they said, "Uh-oh, what are we going to do? Because this guy can rile people up, and next thing you know, people are going to rise up against us, and we're going to lose control of the situation." And so, unfortunately, the way Romans dealt with the people they thought were threats, their enemies, was that they killed them. And so they captured Jesus, and they tortured him, and they killed him, which made his followers, of course, as you can well understand, very, very upset and sad. And after Jesus was killed, they took his body and they put it in a tomb. Now back then, they didn't have graveyards like we have now. They had these rocks, these big rock cliffs, and they would scrape out a space in the cliff, and they would put the body in there, and then they would roll another stone, a big stone, over that to keep the animals out and to just, have the stone, the tomb be closed up. So that's what they did. Jesus' body was put in there, they rolled the stone, and they even put some guards out there to make sure nobody messed with his body. And a couple of days went by. And this is where the story gets amazing. Truly amazing. A couple of days go by, and some of his followers came to bring special spices to anoint his body, which means that was a way of honoring a person who had died. And so there were folks that were wanting to come and do that. Now we know about this story because in the Bible, people wrote stories about Jesus' life, his death, and what happened after he died. There were 4 different stories that were told. The oldest one was a story written by Mark about 5 decades after Jesus died. And so the story of Mark goes like this. On that morning, Mary Magdalene, one of Jesus' closest followers, and a couple of other women go to the tomb, and they see that big rock had been pushed away. And they said, "Oh, that's strange." And they walk in, and they see that Jesus' body isn't there, but there's a man in white sitting there. And the man in white says to them, "Jesus isn't here. He is over in Galilee," which is another town. Well, needless to say, Mary and her friends were shocked, amazed, terrified, and they ran away. That's what they did. That's the oldest story that was told. Now, over time, another story got told. This one was by an author named Matthew. Matthew tells the story a bit differently. This time, Mary and another friend come to the tomb to see Jesus, and a big earthquake happens, and the stone goes to the side, and an angel comes down from heaven and tells them, "Jesus is not here. He has risen. He's not here." The women again are like freaked out, and they were like, "Oh my goodness," and they start running away from the tomb. And who appears to them but Jesus himself and says, "Don't be afraid, here I am." So that's the second story. Now there's a third story that was written at another time as well. And this was by Luke, the Gospel of Luke. When he tells the story, there's a whole group of women who come to the tomb together. And they notice that the stone is pushed aside, And they see Jesus' body isn't there. And there are two men sitting in there, instead in white. And the men in white tell them Jesus went over to Galilee, that town down the road. And the women are amazed and excited, and they go to tell the men. And when they get to the men followers to tell them this news, the men go, "We don't believe you. You can't be telling the truth." So all the guys go up to the tomb, and they look in there themselves, and they say, "Well, gosh, Jesus' body isn't there. The women are right." So then we have a fourth story. The fourth story was from the Gospel of John. And he tells the story yet again a bit differently. Again, we have Mary Magdalene coming to the tomb, but this time she's just by herself. And she notices that the stone is pulled away, and she notices the body isn't there. And she turns to leave and tells everybody else, all the other followers, "I can't find him." And she's very upset. So everyone else comes and looks in the tomb and says, "You're right," and they go home. But Mary stays behind. She stays behind, and two angels appear to her and tell her that Jesus is not dead, but has risen from the dead. And then a gardener comes up, and the gardener says, she says to the gardener, "What have you done with his body?" And then she looks closer at the gardener, and she realizes it's Jesus. And Jesus says, "Mary, it's okay. I have risen from the dead, and soon I will be going up into heaven to live with God." And then she went to tell the news to her fellow followers. So we have four very different stories about what happened on that day, which is now called Easter. And it's kind of curious to know what really did happen on that day. It seems like something amazing did happen, but we really don't know. But what we do know is this: the stories that Jesus told and the example that he gave by the life that he led continues to give people hope. And it's because of that message of hope that people keep telling this story year after year after year for well over 2,000 years now. And that we celebrate Easter as a celebration of hope, of life that goes on. Because when we love each other, well, life does go on in a good and healthy and wonderful way. So that is our story about Jesus and Easter for today.
Years ago, Unitarian Universalist minister Daniel Budd expressed some thoughts about finding meaning in the resurrection story. We received an invitation from our neighborhood newspaper to place an ad for Easter. Someone suggested to me that, should we advertise, it should say something like, "Join us, we're not sure what happened." I was tempted. We're not sure what happened, but we know what it's like when someone appears whose message we feel offers hope, who inspires us with new ways of living, which touch our hearts and lifts our spirit in anticipation. We know what it's like when they fall short of our expectations, or worse, are cut down by the forces of hate and bigotry, which too often enter the human life.
We're not sure what happened, but we know what it's like when someone has grown profoundly into our lives, who seems as much a part of our living as our own breathing, whose presence lives in our souls. We know what it's like when death takes them from us, perhaps prematurely, and the empty place now in our souls is like an empty tomb.
We are not sure what happened, but we know what it's like to feel sorrow and loss, despair and grief. We know the waves of tears and the thoughts of the past which flow through us, which begin to fill the emptiness with stories and memories, begin to shore us up again with a different presence which will live with us for all of our lives.
We're not sure what happened, but we know what it's like to realize, to have it dawn upon us, that what we have known and loved lives on with and within us, a part of who we are. We know that somehow, in our hearts and souls, resurrection is real, not that of the body, but of the spirit, a spirit renewed, even reborn, in the midst of our lives and our living.
We are not sure what happened, but we know there is a difficult hope, a faith, that though the living of whatever sorrow and grief we feel and will continue to feel on occasion, there is also a growing sense of grace and gratitude, of joy and thankfulness in the mysterious and abiding astonishment of human being. In that wonder, may we find our strength, our own sense of Easter.